What makes their approach stand out?
The National Afforestation and Eco-Development Board takes a holistic view, recognizing that ecological restoration isn't just about planting trees, it's about revitalizing entire ecosystems and integrating conservation with sustainable development.
Okay.
They work in ecologically fragile areas like the Western Himalayas, the Ara Valleys, and the Western Ghats, engaging with local communities to implement eco-development projects.
So they're not just planting trees, they're planting seeds of change, empowering communities to become active participants in restoring their local environments.
Beautifully put. They promote sustainable agriculture and forestry practices, develop ecotourism initiatives, and engage in watershed management, ensuring that conservation goes hand in hand with improving livelihoods.
Speaking of sustainable solutions, I'm reminded of our discussion about the National Clean Energy Fund. It seems like India is really putting its money where its mouth is when it comes to supporting clean energy technologies.
Yeah.
What are some specific areas where the fund is making a difference?
The National Clean Energy Fund has been instrumental in financing a wide range of projects, but one area where they've had a particularly significant impact is solar energy development. India has set ambitious targets for solar power generation, and the fund has been crucial in supporting large-scale solar parks, rooftop solar installations, and innovative research in solar technologies.
It's incredible how rapidly solar energy has grown in India. Driving through certain parts of the country, you can see vast fields of solar panels stretching out as far as the eye can see. It's a real testament to the government's commitment to renewable energy.
Absolutely. And it's not just about large-scale projects. There's also a growing focus on decentralized solar energy solutions, empowering individuals and communities to generate their own clean energy.
Speaking of empowerment, I'm reminded of our discussion about the Comprehensive Environmental Pollution Index. It's such a powerful tool for identifying pollution hotspots and holding polluters accountable.
Right. It's all about using data to drive decision-making. The Comprehensive Environmental Pollution Index provides a scientific and transparent way to assess environmental quality, taking into account a wide range of pollution parameters and identifying areas that need immediate attention. It's about moving beyond finger-pointing and blame games and focusing on evidence-based solutions.
And it's not just about measuring pollution, it's about taking concrete action to address the problem. One initiative that really stood out to me was lighting a billion lives. Replacing kerosene lamps with solar lighting, it's such a simple yet brilliant solution, addressing both environmental and social issues.
Absolutely. Lighting a billion lives is a fantastic example of how a relatively low-tech solution can have a transformative impact. It's about recognizing that access to clean energy is a fundamental human right, and that sustainable development goes hand in hand with improving people's lives.
It's about empowering communities, improving health, creating opportunities, and reducing our impact on the planet. And it's not just confined to India, is it?
You're right. Lighting a billion lives has expanded its reach beyond India's borders, bringing solar lighting solutions to communities in countries like Afghanistan, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Mozambique, and Myanmar. It's a shining example of India's global leadership in promoting sustainable development.
It's inspiring to see India sharing its knowledge and expertise with the world, helping to create a more sustainable and equitable future for all. We've talked about community-based conservation, high-tech solutions, innovative financing mechanisms, and even international collaborations. Is there anything else we need to touch upon to truly grasp the scope of India's conservation efforts?
We're getting there. But before we wrap up part two, let's take a closer look at one of India's flagship programs, the Joint Forest Management Program.
The Joint Forest Management Program, the one that empowers local communities to manage and protect their forests. It sounds like a truly collaborative approach to conservation.
It is, and it's been remarkably successful in many parts of India. One of the most inspiring examples is the story of the Arabari forest in West Bengal. In the 1970s, this forest was severely degraded due to overexploitation.
Oh, okay.
But thanks to the Joint Forest Management Program, things turned around dramatically.
Tell me more about the Arabari forest transformation. What was the key to their success?
The key was recognizing the invaluable role of local communities. Under the Joint Forest Management Program, villagers were given the right to harvest non-timber forest products like fruits, nuts, and medicinal plants, and they received a share of the revenue generated from timber sales. This gave them a direct economic incentive to protect the forest, and they became active participants in its management.
It's fascinating how aligning economic incentives with conservation goals can lead to such positive outcomes.
Exactly. It's about creating a win-win situation where communities benefit economically and the forest thrives. And the results in Erebari speak for themselves. The forest has regenerated significantly, wildlife populations have rebounded, and local communities have seen their livelihoods improve.
It's a powerful testament to the power of community-based conservation, proving that when people have a stake in protecting their environment, they can achieve incredible things. But the Joint Forest Management Program is just one example of India's commitment to empowering communities and integrating conservation with sustainable development.
Absolutely. There's a growing recognition that conservation can't happen in isolation. It needs to be woven into the fabric of society, addressing the needs of both people and nature. And that's a theme we'll continue exploring in part 3, where we'll delve into even more fascinating initiatives and discuss the future of conservation in India. Welcome back to the deep dive. It's amazing how much ground we've covered in this episode, from the foundations of in situ and ex situ conservation to the innovative programs addressing pollution and promoting clean energy.
It's truly mind-boggling to see the sheer scope and diversity of India's conservation efforts. And the best part is it feels like the journey is only just beginning.
You're absolutely right. There's a palpable sense of momentum in the conservation space in India, with new innovations emerging all the time. One area that's particularly exciting is the growing use of technology for conservation.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned this earlier. It sounds almost futuristic, using technology to protect nature. Tell me more about how this is playing out in India.
Well, for starters, there's the increasing use of remote sensing and GIS for monitoring forests, wildlife, and other natural resources. Satellites and drones are becoming indispensable tools for conservationists.
It's like having eyes in the sky, keeping watch over vast landscapes and tracking changes over time.
Exactly. They can track deforestation, monitor wildlife populations, even detect illegal activities like poaching. And the technology is becoming increasingly sophisticated and affordable. It's no longer just the domain of large research institutions.
So technology is democratizing conservation, making it accessible to a wider range of stakeholders. What other tech-driven innovations are you excited about?
The use of artificial intelligence and machine learning for conservation is truly groundbreaking. These technologies can analyze vast amounts of data, from satellite images to acoustic recordings to camera trap photos, to identify patterns and trends that humans might miss.
So it's like giving conservationists superhuman analytical abilities. Can you give me a specific example?
Absolutely. Imagine you're trying to track the movements of a rare tiger through dense forest. AI algorithms can be trained to recognize individual tigers from their unique stripe patterns, analyze camera trap photos from across a vast landscape, and piece together the tiger's movements over time. This helps us understand their habitat use, behavior patterns, and potential threats they face.
That's incredible. It's like having a detective on the case. But instead of solving crimes, they're solving conservation mysteries.
That's a great way to put it. And this kind of data can be incredibly valuable for informing conservation strategies.
It's fascinating how technology can bridge the gap between data and action, helping us make more informed decisions about how to protect our planet.
Yeah.
But it's not just about high-tech solutions, is it? You mentioned something earlier about citizen science.
Right. Citizen science is another exciting trend. It's about empowering ordinary people to contribute to scientific research and conservation efforts.
I love that idea. It's about breaking down the barriers between scientists and the public, making everyone feel like they can be part of the solution.
Exactly. There are numerous citizen science platforms and apps that allow people to contribute their observations, collect data, and report their findings, whether it's tracking bird migrations, monitoring water quality, or documenting invasive species. Citizen science is generating a wealth of valuable data that can inform conservation efforts.
It's a win-win situation. People get to engage with nature and contribute to something meaningful, and scientists get access to a vast network of data collectors. It's a brilliant way to harness the power of collective action.
Couldn't agree more. And this focus on collective action is also evident in the growing trend towards landscape-scale conservation.
Landscape-scale conservation, what does that entail exactly?
It's about thinking bigger, moving beyond the traditional approach of protecting isolated patches of habitat. It's about recognizing that ecosystems are interconnected and that we need to manage them as such.
So it's about connecting the dots, creating corridors between protected areas, and considering the entire landscape, not just individual reserves.
Precisely. It's about creating a mosaic of land uses that can coexist with biodiversity, promoting sustainable agriculture and forestry practices in areas surrounding protected areas, and ensuring that wildlife can move freely across the landscape.
It's a more holistic and integrated approach to conservation. recognizing that people and nature are inextricably linked. And speaking of interconnectedness, there's another important concept that's gaining traction: ecosystem services.
You're right. Ecosystem services are all the benefits that humans derive from ecosystems. Think of clean air and water, pollination, climate regulation, flood control. These are all services provided by healthy ecosystems, and they're essential for human well-being and economic prosperity.
It's about recognizing that nature isn't just something beautiful to look at, it's the foundation of our very existence.
Exactly. For too long, we've taken these services for granted, but now there's a growing understanding that we need to protect and manage ecosystems if we want to continue enjoying these benefits.
So it's about moving beyond the idea of conservation as a purely altruistic act and recognizing that it's in our own self-interest to protect nature.
Exactly. It's about creating economic incentives for conservation, finding ways to value ecosystem services, and integrating conservation into all aspects of decision-making.
It's a powerful shift in perspective. It's not about saving nature from humans. It's about saving ourselves by working with nature.
Beautifully put. And this shift in thinking is becoming increasingly urgent as we face the growing threat of climate change.
Right, climate change, the elephant in the room. What role does climate change adaptation play in India's conservation strategies?
Climate change is already having a significant impact on India, from rising sea levels and coastal erosion to more frequent and intense droughts and floods. So there's a growing focus on adapting to these changes and building resilience into our ecosystems and communities.
So it's about acknowledging that climate change is happening, accepting that some impacts are inevitable, and figuring out how to minimize the damage and adapt to the new reality.
Exactly. It's about developing drought-resistant crops, improving water management, restoring coastal ecosystems, strengthening disaster preparedness, and creating early warning systems for extreme weather events. It's about being proactive and forward-thinking.
It's about facing the challenge head on, rather than burying our heads in the sand. It's a hopeful message, recognizing that we have the agency to shape our future, even in the face of a changing climate.
Absolutely. And this message of hope is what makes India's conservation journey so inspiring. It's not just about protecting what we have, it's about creating a more sustainable and equitable future for all.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of Indian conservation. From protecting iconic species like tigers and elephants, to restoring degraded ecosystems, to empowering local communities, India is demonstrating its commitment to creating a harmonious relationship between people and nature.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating landscape with you.
And a huge thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into Indian conservation measures. We hope you've learned something new, felt inspired, and perhaps even discovered a new passion for protecting our planet.
And remember, conservation is a journey, not a destination. We all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable future.
That's right. Every action, no matter how small, can make a difference. So stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring the world of conservation.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our future deep dives into the world of knowledge and discovery. Until next time, stay informed and stay inspired.